The compliment trap. Picture this. You're sitting at your desk, already drowning in emails, when your boss strolls by with a smile. You know, you're the smartest one here. Nobody handles problems like you do. You feel a little glow of pride until they slide a thick stack of paperwork onto your desk. Suddenly, that compliment wasn't admiration, it was bait. This is the compliment trap. When praise isn't given freely, but used as currency to buy your compliance. Why flattery works as manipulation. Flattery feels good because it lights up the brain's reward centers. When someone compliments you, dopamine floods your system. You relax, you smile, your guard drops. And in that moment, you're far less likely to question their intentions. It's the psychological version of a magician's distraction. While you're basking in the glow, they slip their hand into your pocket. Manipulators understand this. They know that if they butter you up first, you'll be more likely to say yes to things you'd normally refuse. The boss who praises your brilliance before piling on extra work. The friend who says you're the most generous person they know right before asking for a loan. The partner who calls you the best thing that ever happened to them, then pressures you into choices that only benefit them. The science of why we fall for it. Humans are wired to seek approval. Compliments signal social acceptance, and our brains interpret that as safety. It's rooted in evolution. Being liked meant survival. So when someone praises us, our defenses drop, even if part of us suspects there's a catch. We want the praise to be real. That craving makes us overlook the manipulation hiding underneath. How to test if a compliment is genuine. So how do you know if a compliment is honest admiration or a setup? Here are 3 quick tests. Timing. Test genuine compliments can appear any time. Manipulative ones usually show up right before a request. Specificity. Test real compliments are often specific. I liked how you handled that meeting. You stayed calm under pressure. Manipulative ones are vague and inflated. You're the best. Nobody's as amazing as you. Consistency. Test if someone only praises you when they want something. It's not admiration, it's strategy. How to diffuse the compliment trap. When you sense a compliment has strings attached, don't take the bait. You can acknowledge the praise without surrendering to the manipulation. For example, thanks, I appreciate that, but I don't have the bandwidth to take this on right now. Notice what happens next. If the compliment was genuine, the relationship won't change. But if it was a trap, the manipulator's disappointment will show. That reaction tells you everything you need to know. Compliments can be a gift or a leash. Learn to enjoy the gift, but never let it control your choices. Imagine this. You've had a long, exhausting week. All you want is a quiet night to recharge. But then your phone buzzes with a message from a friend. I guess you're too busy for me these days. Ouch. Without realizing it, your chest tightens. You feel torn. You weren't planning to go out, but now skipping might make you seem like a bad friend. Against your own needs, you cave. That, right there, is the guilt hook in action. Why guilt is a manipulator's favorite weapon. Guilt is one of the most powerful emotional levers. Unlike anger or threats, which are easy to spot, guilt hides behind concern and subtlety. When someone uses guilt on you, they're not yelling. They're planting a quiet question in your head. Am I being selfish? Am I letting them down? And here's the trick. Guilt doesn't just make you feel bad. It makes you feel responsible for someone else's emotions. You start believing that their disappointment, sadness, or loneliness is your fault. That belief is what manipulators feed on. They know if they can tie your sense of self-worth to their happiness, you'll bend. The brain science of guilt. When you feel guilt, your brain lights up in the same regions connected to pain. That's right, guilt hurts. And because the brain wants to stop that discomfort, you rush to do whatever will fix it. Say yes to plans. Lend money you can't afford, offer favors you don't have time for. But here's the kicker. The relief you feel after giving in doesn't come from solving the real issue. It comes from silencing the guilt, temporarily. And so, without realizing it, you've been trained like Pavlov's dog. Manipulators ring the guilt bell, and you come running. How to spot the guilt hook. So, how do you recognize when guilt is being used against you? Watch for phrases that shift responsibility for someone else's emotions onto you. After all I've done for you, if you really cared, you would. I guess I just don't matter to you. Notice the pattern. They're not asking directly. They're framing your refusal as proof you're a bad person. How to diffuse guilt manipulation. Here's the hard truth. You can't control whether someone tries to guilt you, but you can control how you respond. First, pause. Guilt thrives on quick reactions, so take a breath before answering. Second, separate fact from feeling. Ask yourself, am I actually doing something wrong or just being made to feel like I am? And third, set boundaries with calm confidence. You don't need to justify endlessly. A simple, I care about you but I can't do this right now, is more powerful than you think. Guilt hooks work because they prey on your empathy, but empathy without boundaries turns you into a puppet. Spot the strings and cut them. The silence game, imagine this. You've just had a small disagreement with your partner. Maybe it wasn't even that serious. But instead of talking it out, they go quiet. No calls, no texts. Hours pass, then days. You're left staring at your phone, replaying the argument in your head, wondering, did I say too much? Are they leaving me? Should I apologize? This is the silence game, when someone uses absence as a weapon. Why silence is such a powerful control tactic? Silence is one of the oldest tools of manipulation. Unlike yelling or criticizing, which can be challenged, silence leaves you with nothing to grab onto. No words, no closure, just a void that your mind rushes to fill with fear. Psychologists call this a withdrawal response. The manipulator doesn't need to attack you directly. Instead, they pull away, forcing you to chase them for reassurance. How silence rewires your brain into anxiety. Here's why it works. Our brains are wired for social connection. When someone important to us suddenly withdraws, it triggers the same regions that process physical pain. That's why being iced out can feel unbearable. And because humans crave resolution, your anxiety skyrockets. You start overthinking, blaming yourself, and bending over backward to fix the silence. In other words, while they say nothing, you do all the work. You call, you text, you apologize, even if you weren't wrong. And once again, the manipulator gets what they want without ever raising their voice. Example, the romantic partner. Think of the partner who goes quiet after every argument. Instead of addressing the problem, they retreat, knowing silence will eat away at you until you cave. What started as a fight about dinner or plans with friends suddenly turns into your desperate attempt to restore peace. They've shifted the power. The silence becomes proof that control doesn't always need words. Sometimes it's the lack of them, silence versus space. Knowing the difference, now it's important to say this. Not all silence is manipulation. Sometimes people genuinely need space to process emotions. The difference lies in intention. Space is communicated. I need some time to cool off, but I'll check back with you later. It's about clarity and respect. Manipulative silence is ambiguous. No explanation, no timeline, just withdrawal. The goal isn't peace. It's to make you squirm. How to diffuse the silence game. The key is to break the cycle of chasing. When someone goes silent without explanation, resist the urge to beg for attention. Instead, set a boundary. You can say, I'm open to talking when you're ready, but I won't engage with silent treatment. By refusing to play the game, you take back the power. Their silence loses its sting when you no longer make it your responsibility to fill it. Silence can heal or it can control. Learn to spot which one you're dealing with, and never let someone else's silence drown out your own voice. The scarcity trick picture. This. You're scrolling online and see an ad that screams, only 3 left in stock. Order in the next 2 hours or miss out forever. Your heartbeat quickens. You weren't even sure you needed this product 5 minutes ago, but suddenly it feels urgent. If you don't grab it now, you'll regret it. This is the scarcity trick, one of the most common and most effective manipulation tactics. Why scarcity works so well? Scarcity is powerful because it preys on a deep survival instinct. In our ancestral past, resources were limited. If food, water, or shelter was scarce, acting fast could mean life or death. That wiring still lives in us today. When something appears rare or fleeting, our brain lights up with urgency. Rational thought shrinks and impulse takes over. Marketers, negotiators, and even everyday manipulators know this. That's why you hear phrases like, "This deal is only available today, Spots are limited. Don't miss your chance. Everyone wants this, so act now before it's gone. These words don't describe reality. They're designed to hijack your decision-making. The psychology of scarcity. Here's what happens inside your head. When something is framed as scarce, your brain interprets it as more valuable than it really is. It's not just something anymore. It's something rare. Scarcity also creates a fear of missing out, or FOMO. That fear is so strong that it can override logic. You don't stop to ask, do I actually want this? Do I need it? Can I afford it? Instead, your brain screams, if I don't grab it now, I'll never get the chance again. And just like that, you've been manipulated into acting without thinking. Example, the sales pitch. Think of the pushy salesperson who says, this price is only valid if you sign today. They don't want you to go home, think about it, or compare options. They want you in a state of urgency where your judgment is clouded, because in that moment, you're easier to control. How to neutralize the scarcity trick. So how do you fight back? The answer lies in mindset. First, remind yourself, real opportunities don't vanish overnight. If someone is forcing urgency, it's often because they don't want you to think clearly. Second, flip the script. Instead of asking, what if I miss this? Ask, what if I regret rushing into it? That simple shift breaks the fear cycle. Finally, create your own rule. Never make big decisions on the spot. Give yourself time, even a day, before committing. If the offer disappears, chances are it wasn't worth it anyway. Scarcity manipulates by making you believe the clock is ticking. But the truth is, most things aren't as rare or urgent as they seem. Slow down, breathe. And remember, a decision made in calm clarity is always more powerful than one made in panic. The projection play. Imagine this. You're in a relationship, and lately, your partner has been acting distant. They come home late, their phone is glued to their hand, and something just feels off. Then one night, out of nowhere, they look at you and say, are you cheating on me? You freeze. You haven't done anything wrong, but now you're suddenly defending yourself. And while you're busy proving your innocence, their suspicious behavior slips out of focus. This is the projection play. When manipulators accuse you of the very thing they're guilty of. Why projection is so effective? Projection works because it flips the script. Instead of you questioning them, they put you on the defensive. Psychologically, it creates confusion. Your brain is wired to respond to accusations quickly, especially serious ones like lying, cheating, or betrayal. That urgency to clear your name distracts you from asking, wait, why are they accusing me in the first place? Projection doesn't just protect the manipulator from suspicion, it also plants doubt in your mind. Even if you know you're innocent, a part of you starts wondering, did I say something that seemed off? Did I accidentally make them insecure? And just like that, the focus shifts from their actions to your supposed flaws. Example, the cheating partner. Take the classic case of the unfaithful partner. Deep down, they know what they're doing is wrong. But instead of facing that guilt, they project it onto you. By accusing you of cheating, they achieve three things. They distract you from noticing their own behavior. They justify their actions by convincing themselves, well, they're probably doing it too. They control the narrative, forcing you to play defense instead of asking hard questions. The psychology behind projection at its core, projection is a defense mechanism. When someone can't face their own flaws, they throw those flaws onto others. It's easier to accuse you than to admit the truth about themselves. This isn't always conscious. Sometimes people genuinely believe their accusations because their guilt or insecurity is so strong that it distorts their perception. But whether intentional or not, the effect on you is the same: distraction and self-doubt. How to spot projection instantly. When accusations come flying, pause and ask yourself these questions. Does this accusation reflect their recent behavior more than mine? Am I suddenly defending myself instead of examining them? Is there a pattern? Do they accuse me whenever I start questioning them? If the answer leans toward yes, you might be facing projection. How to disarm the projection. Play the key is not to get trapped in endless defense. Instead, redirect the focus. You can calmly say, that's interesting you feel that way. What makes you say that? This forces them to explain themselves, rather than shifting all the attention onto you, and most importantly, trust the evidence of actions, not accusations. Words can be twisted, but behavior always tells the real story. Projection is smoke and mirrors. It's meant to blind you with false accusations while the real truth hides in plain sight. Once you recognize the trick, you stop defending and start seeing clearly. The nice guy, nice girl mask. Imagine you've got a coworker who's always the first to offer help. They grab you coffee, volunteer to cover your shift, even step in to solve problems you didn't ask them to fix. At first you think, wow, what a genuinely kind person. But weeks later, they come to you with a request. Hey, I've done so much for you. I really need you to back me up on this project. Suddenly, their kindness feels less like generosity and more like an investment they're cashing in. This is the nice guy, nice girl mask, a form of manipulation wrapped in charm. Why fake kindness is so effective, unlike hostility, which triggers your defenses, kindness lowers your guard. We're taught from childhood to trust and reward nice behavior. So when someone showers us with favors, we rarely question their motives. But manipulators know this. They hide behind niceness to make you feel safe, indebted, and less likely to push back when their true agenda emerges. It's not kindness for the sake of connection, it's kindness as currency. The psychology behind the mask, why does this work so well? Because humans are wired for reciprocity. When someone gives us something, we feel a subconscious pressure to give back. Psychologists call this the rule of reciprocity, a deeply ingrained social rule that makes societies function. Manipulators exploit this instinct. They'll overload you with small acts of kindness, not to build a bond, but to put you in their debt. And when the time is right, they'll remind you, after everything I've done for you, it's generosity with strings attached. Example, the helpful coworker. Think back to that coworker who always covers for you. At first, it feels great, until they use it to corner you into supporting their promotion or taking responsibility for their mistakes. Because they've been so nice, refusing them makes you look ungrateful. And that's the trap. You're manipulated into compliance, not because you owe them, but because you don't want to seem like the bad guy, the red flags of fake kindness. So how do you spot when kindness is genuine versus manipulative? Watch for these small but telling signs. Scorekeeping. They keep track of every favor, even small ones. Conditional help. Their support disappears the moment you say no. Public performance. They're overly nice when others are watching, but different in private. Hidden pressure. Their kindness is followed by guilt trips or subtle reminders of what you owe them. Real kindness is consistent, unconditional, and doesn't demand repayment. Fake kindness always has fine print. How to disarm the mask. The key is to separate gratitude from obligation. It's okay to appreciate someone's help without turning it into a debt. If someone tries to cash in their niceness, calmly set boundaries. I appreciate what you did, but I can't agree to this. This sends a clear message. Kindness is valued, but it cannot be weaponized. The nice guy, nice girl mask works because it dresses manipulation in charm, but once you learn to spot the strings, you'll never mistake a leash for a gift again. The fear trigger. Fear is the oldest weapon in the manipulator's arsenal. From ancient rulers to toxic partners, people have used it to control others because it works instantly. Picture this, you're in a relationship, and every time you bring up leaving, your partner whispers, if you walk away, you'll regret it. It's not a direct threat, but it plants a seed. What if they're right? What if leaving ruins everything? Suddenly, your rational mind is paralyzed, hijacked by fear. Why is fear so powerful? Fear doesn't ask for your permission. It bypasses reason and goes straight to survival mode. When you sense danger, your brain's amygdala fires up, flooding your system with adrenaline. In that state, you're not thinking long-term. You're just trying to escape immediate pain. Manipulators know this. They don't need to prove their threats. They just need you to imagine the worst-case scenario: rejection, failure, loss, or humiliation. That imagination does all the heavy lifting. Examples of fear manipulation. Relationships. No one else will ever love you like I do. Translation. Stay or face loneliness. Workplace. If you don't take this project, management will notice. Translation. Your job is on the line. Family. After everything I've done, if you don't help me, I'll never forgive you. Translation. Lose me, lose love. Fear becomes the leash. The manipulator doesn't need to hold it tight. You pull yourself back into line. The hidden trick, shrinking your options, is core. Fear manipulation works by making you believe you have no good choices, either obey or suffer. They create a false reality where freedom looks dangerous, so compliance feels safe. But here's the truth. Fear paints extremes. It whispers in absolutes, always, never, forever ruined. That language is a telltale sign you're not making a logical decision. You're making a panicked one, breaking the fear spell. The key is reframing. Instead of asking, "What do I lose if I resist?" flip the question, "What do I lose if I give in?" If you stay in a toxic relationship, what years of peace are you sacrificing? If you obey a bullying boss, what self-respect are you trading away? If you let family threats control you, what boundaries are you erasing? Fear shrinks your perspective. Reframing expands it. It forces your rational brain back online. Another tool, time delay. Never make a decision when fear is fresh. Step back, breathe, and revisit the choice once your emotions settle. Fear thrives in urgency. Starve it with patience. Final thought. Fear triggers compliance in the short term, but over time, it rots trust and kills respect. Anyone who needs fear to control you has already lost real influence. The moment you stop reacting to threats is the moment their power collapses. The invisible chains. Take a moment and think about your last week. How many times did someone push you, pull you, or steer your decisions, and you barely noticed? Maybe it was your coworker who helped too much, or the friend who guilt-tripped you into cancelling plans. Maybe a partner went quiet, or someone hinted that opportunities were fleeting. Every one of these moments has one thing in common: invisible manipulation, the web of subtle control. Over the past chapters, we've uncovered the tricks, the guilt hook, turning your empathy into compliance, the compliment trap, flattering you to lower your defenses, the silence game, withdrawing to trigger anxiety and chase, the scarcity trick, making opportunities seem rare so you act impulsively, the projection play, accusing you of their misdeeds to distract you, the nice mask, using fake kindness to earn hidden influence, the fear trigger, instilling threats that hijack your rational mind. Each one works differently, but the effect is the same. You make choices they want you to make, often without realizing it. The twist: instinct, not always intent. Here's the kicker. Most people using these tactics aren't evil schemers. They're not sitting there thinking, "How can I control this person today?" These behaviors are often instinctual, learned from childhood, culture, or social norms. A parent who uses guilt, a partner who withholds affection, a colleague who praises you strategically. They may simply be repeating patterns that worked for them without conscious intent. That makes the invisible chains even stronger. Because when manipulation is unconscious, it's harder to spot, harder to resist, and easier to justify in your own mind. The danger of unawareness. Why are these chains so insidious? Because when you don't see them, you think your choices are free. You believe, "I decided to help, I chose to stay, I opted in voluntarily," but each action has been subtly nudged. The guilt, the praise, the silence, all tiny levers shifting your behavior. And over time, you might wonder why you feel exhausted, anxious, or trapped, even when everything looks normal on the surface. Breaking the pattern. The first step is awareness. Once you know the patterns, the subtle hooks, the invisible strings, you cannot unsee them. Ask yourself, when did I feel pressured without realizing it? Who benefits from my decisions, me or someone else? Am I responding to the person or to a reaction they engineered? By naming the tricks, you reclaim control. You don't have to cut people out, but you can create boundaries, pause before reacting, and decide on your own terms. Closing, seeing the unseen. The invisible chains aren't always malicious, but they are real. Once you understand the tactics, guilt, flattery, silence, scarcity, projection, fake kindness, and fear, you gain the power to act consciously. Manipulation loses its grip the moment it's recognized. Awareness is the scalpel that frees you from control. From now on, when someone triggers guilt, praise, or fear, you'll notice it, and that awareness changes everything. The world will feel the same, but you will never be the same again.